Are you here to find out how to freeze your Georgia property taxes? Then you are in the right place. One of the most important things I learned many years ago is how to freeze my property taxes 3 years at a time in Georgia. It has served me, my friends, students, and clients well. When you freeze your property taxes for 3 years at a time, you don't have to worry about potential property tax increases each and every year. In Georgia, tens of thousands of annual assessment notices go out starting in spring, with many tens of thousands more to follow through the summer months. As most people know, property values started surging in 2020, and it has continued until today for 4 straight years. But just because property values keep surging every year doesn't mean that your property taxes have to if you own property in Georgia. You can freeze them for 3 years at a time if you understand the process. The basis of how to freeze property taxes lies in Georgia's property tax appeal process. But it isn't just about filing a tax appeal. You have to follow a certain path. It's not hard to do, but it does require you to pay attention to specific steps and seeing the process through to the very end. For the last few years, I've made videos where I teach people how to file property taxes in Georgia. I update my videos with the latest information available at the time of recording. You should know that last year I wrote a book called Tax Freeze: How to File and Win Property Tax Appeals in Georgia. It's been updated for 2024 and it's available in Kindle ebook format. It's also now available in business paperback format. I will provide the Amazon links in the description area below. What I will cover in this video is the big picture roadmap you need to travel within Georgia's tax appeal process. A disclaimer: I am not a lawyer, appraiser, or representative for any tax assessor's office. This video should not be considered official legal, financial, or professional advice. If you need official legal, financial, or professional advice, you should hire a professional to discuss your situation. I am only providing general information based on my personal research, experiences, and opinions. Contact your local tax assessor's office for official, county-specific information. Most people, when they file tax appeals in Georgia, only appeal for that year's assessed value. But when I file tax appeals for myself and my clients, I do it with the mindset of setting the value and freezing it for 3 years. Each year, the assessed value is based on property values as of January 1 of that tax year. Because I'm making this video in 2024, I am going to use the 2024 tax appeal season as my example. For the 2024 tax appeal season, assessed values are supposed to reflect values as of January 1, 2024. Property values effective January 1, 2024 are supposed to be based on sales comps from 2023. None of the sales values in 2024 are supposed to count. Most people, including real estate agents and real estate brokers, won't know this unless they have been taught this. They are accustomed to pulling sales comps for the most recent months. That is absolutely the wrong thing to do when you are looking to file tax appeals. You should know that assessed values provided to you are often wrong, which is a big reason why the tax appeal process exists. It is to help catch flaws and mistakes with the underlying mass appraisal system. In summary, you need to remember that when you file a tax appeal in 2024, you need to be looking at 2023 sales values. This is very important to know because sales prices in 2024 have climbed past 2023 sales values. You want to lock down the 2023 values while you still can. If you appeal and freeze the 2023 properties values this year, you won't have to deal with property tax increases until 2027. As I said earlier, whenever I file tax appeals in Georgia, I always do it with a 3-year tax freeze in mind. You should too. If you go into any tax assessor's office and ask about how to get a 3-year tax freeze, they may not understand you. It's a colloquial term, not a technical term when I say 3-year tax freeze. I use it as a teaching tool for you and other property owners. The tax assessor's office aren't going to give you an easy to understand roadmap how to do this like I do in this video or in my book. They do the bare minimum in teaching and informing the public. At best, they will speak in broad and vague terms, leaving you to figure out the details out. You aren't going to get all the detailed explanations and instructions you might want. But I've got good news for you. This video will provide you a good roadmap. This is how I do it. Keep in mind that there are 159 counties in Georgia. My experience comes from having filed over 200 property tax appeals across 6 different Georgia counties over the span of a dozen years. That means there might be some small deviations in specific counties. Beware of the small differences. However, the big picture should still be the same for all Georgia counties. A big picture item that I need to take care of now with you is that my cat Lexi wants you to swipe that like button so that this video is shared to more homeowners and property owners who might need this information. And as a special bonus, if you hit that subscribe button, I will make sure Lexi gets a special treat. In order to get your 3-year property tax freeze in Georgia, you need to file a tax appeal, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the property value on your annual assessment notice. Let me say that again. If you want a 3-year property tax freeze in Georgia, you have to go through the tax appeal process, even if you agree with the property value. Many of you live in a property or have tenants who occupy your property. As such, there will be different degrees of wear and tear, which lowers and depreciates the property value. People don't realize that the majority of homes sold on the open market are in cleaned up, fixed up, retail-ready condition. As such, values from sales comps skew high compared to actual lived-in occupied homes. You have to think realistically that if you were to sell your lived-in or tenant-occupied property that hasn't been cleaned or fixed up in as-is condition, would you really get the prices shown in the sales comps? Not very likely. This is one big reason why most assessment notices are often wrong. You can test the value on your assessment notice by writing on your county's appeal form, the PT-311-A form, what you think the market value is worth in its lived-in, occupied, worn condition with all the current defects and imperfections as of January 1, 2024. I have a separate video which goes into more detail on how to fill out the PT-311-A tax appeal form. I will have a link in the video description below. There is no specific formula I can give you to follow because properties and areas are so different throughout Georgia. But I generally recommend that you write a lower value than a higher value. And the reason for that is you don't want to hurt your own appeal efforts by finding out that you overestimated the actual value later on in the process. Writing in and fighting for a lower property value generally means you will eventually pay less in property taxes. The worst that can happen is that the tax assessor's office will disagree with you. When you fill out and submit your tax appeal form to the tax assessor's office, you will generally get a written response within 90 days. However, in recent years, tax appeals have surged in volume, so it might take even longer. In these cases, you need to call your tax assessor's office and then follow up. This next step is crucial. One of two things will happen. You will either get a no change notice, which means they have elected to keep the value they sent to you, or you will receive a revised assessment notice with a lowered value. If you get a no change letter, which is happening more and more these days, your case is automatically forwarded to the BOE. The BOE stands for Board of Equalization. The BOE will send you a letter with the date, time, location for your BOE hearing. If you end up getting a revised assessment notice with a lower value, even if you agree with it, regardless of the lowered value, you must continue the appeal to get the tax freeze. I hate this, but that's just the way the system is. I know it sounds strange, but procedurally, it is the only way to get your 3-year property tax freeze. You continue the appeal by writing and sending a short letter to the tax assessor's office. A sample of my continuation letter can be found in my book. The good news is some counties will provide you a free form letter for you to use in these situations, because there's really nothing fancy or complicated about the letter itself. When you continue your tax appeal, your case will then be forwarded to the BOE for scheduling. The BOE department will send you a letter with the date, time, and location for your BOE hearing. The good news is you might not have to attend, but the formality of scheduling a BOE hearing will still occur. Once your tax appeal goes to the BOE, one of two things can happen. The worst case scenario is that you will have to attend the BOE hearing in person. The more likely scenario and best case scenario is that you will have an opportunity to speak with a county appraiser on the phone to settle your tax appeal case. Sometimes they will initiate the phone call, but there is nothing to stop you from initiating the call yourself. Settling appeals happen a lot in the metro Atlanta counties because of the sheer volume of tax appeals each year. If they can reasonably settle tax appeals with you, they will. If you agree to settle your tax appeal with the tax assessor's office, they will email you a settlement form to sign. That settlement form should reference the 299C clause, which effectively means you also secured your 3-year tax freeze. Your signed settlement form will then be forwarded to the board for final approval. Going back to the worst case scenario, if the tax assessor's office will not settle with you for whatever reason, in order to get the 3-year tax freeze, you must plan on attending the BOE hearing. I know it sounds intimidating, but it really is not, especially if all you want is the 3-year tax freeze. If you have multiple properties you are appealing, you should call the BOE office and ask that your appeals be scheduled at the same date and time. It is more efficient for everyone involved for you to attend one longer hearing than coming back multiple times. A few years ago, I attended a BOE hearing on behalf of myself and a fellow landlord that I was representing. Although we were scheduled to be there all day, it only took us less than 2 hours to get through the BOE hearings for all 20 properties because we knew what we were there for and we were very efficient about it. We were there to get the 3-year tax freeze for every property we appealed. A pleasant experience was had by all because we did our part to make it easy for the BOE judges and the representative for the tax assessor's office. There is another issue I would like to touch on. I know a lot of people work during the day and attend the BOE hearing can be inconvenient and disruptive to your schedule. What you can do is send a friend or family member or hire someone to attend for you. If you choose to have someone go in your place, you should inform the tax assessor's office and the BOE office in writing that you are designating an agent to attend the BOE hearing on your behalf. Believe it or not, the person attending doesn't have to know anything about tax appeals. They simply need to show up at the BOE hearing to get the 3-year tax freeze. The BOE judges and the representative from the tax assessor's office will likely understand what you're wanting. They will still go through the formalities of the BOE hearing. The person you send as your agent can sit quietly until the end of the hearing to get the BOE determination form. That form will state the value that the BOE determined, and it will be effective for the current year plus 2 additional tax years. Of course, make sure your agent gets a copy for your records. If everything goes well, the tax year you file plus the next 2 tax years, you should see little or no increase in the property taxes you pay. Now, if you unavoidably miss your BOE hearing due to some emergency, you can still get your property tax freeze, but this unusual step goes way beyond the scope of this video. But just know that it exists. If you are a Georgia homeowner or property owner and want to learn how to get your 3-year property tax freeze in Georgia, I highly recommend you order a copy of my book on Amazon. It's less than $10 if you order the Kindle version. It will be well worth it. I also have a paperback version for a few dollars more if you prefer that. I will provide a link below in the video description area. Finally, for property owners who have multiple properties or business property owners who really want to do a deep dive on Georgia tax appeals, I will have a master course called Ultimate Tax Freeze, Mastering and Winning Tax Appeals in Georgia, that will be released in 2024. So be on the lookout for that. At this point, the next video you should watch is how to fill out Georgia's tax appeal form, the PT-311-A form. Go check out this next video, and I will see you over there.